We're recording. Great. So what we're going to do first, what gem do we use to interface with the internet? Is anybody there?
I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah. Okay. How do I do a GET request? How do I do a POST request? How do I do any of that with Ruby?
With REST client gem.
Beautiful. So we're going to make two directories. We're going to do this two ways, Ruby, and then we're going to do JavaScript. We're going to do more on the JavaScript stuff because I think it's cooler. But you should learn everything you need to know with Ruby. I mainly want to show you why maybe Ruby is better for some stuff and JavaScript is not as good at some stuff, and then show you how to fix that. Because this was like a pretty big thing when I remember Kyle pointed out to me my Mod 5 project, and I'm like, I wish I would have known that sooner. All right, so anyways, first we're going to go into Ruby. CD Ruby, and we're going to, so now we have a Ruby file. Great. Let's go ahead. We're inside of our Ruby. Whoops. I need to go to terminal. So first thing that we need to do is we need to create a gem file. So bundle init, right? So what that does is this is our packages now that we have. And then we just got to add basically REST client to it. So bundle add REST client. I think that's the right term. Then let's go to the REST client gem. So I'm just going to literally Google REST client. Y'all can see everything I'm doing, right?
Yep.
Beautiful. Cool. So all we want to do is make a GET request and parse it out and see what we got. So let's go to our trivia thing. We have to require, what is it? I think I have to type it in as REST client here. And then here I have to do, so this is just saying pull out the package REST client. And then here is this. We have REST client. Our request is in the form of this, .get URL. Cool. So we need to specify what our URL is. Let's just, this trivia app is, I'm going to go to just trivia API, and it's like the first one that comes out. I think so. Yep, first one that comes out. I'm going to leave all these as default except for change this to where instead of having 10 questions, it's just one question. Cool. Generate the API URL. This is our GET request. Simple as that. Everybody stop me if you're like, if I'm going too fast. But
I don't think we haven't done anything with REST client yet, so that was new.
oh, was it? Okay, my bad. So that's interesting. I'm really glad you told me that. I think I actually learned that in Mod 1, but I think it just kind of depends on like what people wind up asking for. So REST client is like, it's basically the exact same thing as fetch in JavaScript. You're saying get the response. Let's go ahead and we'll add binding.pry here. But actually, we're not going to add binding.pry. Sometimes it's good to think about how to not use a debugger. So I'm just going to not do that. But we are going to add pretty print. Bundle add pp. Bam. Oh, wait, you know what? I think it might actually come installed with Ruby. So require. Bam. And then we're going to say, let's set this equal to a variable. So I'm going to say my response equals REST client.get URL, and we want to print my response. So let's see what happens when we run this file. Ruby trivia.rb. Bam. So we got something. We got a response, and it looks hideous. What the fuck is this thing, right? This is like a very weird, this is basically saying it's just an object and you don't really know what to do with it. So the reason why that's not working right is because we have to parse that out. So to parse that out, we have to install another gem. Let's call it bundle add, I think it's just JSON. to require that, right? Who can explain to me what a gem is, by the way?
Package of somebody else's code.
I think you do JSON.parse. It is, exactly. It's just code that you're importing. I'm not sure if this will work. Let's find out. Oh, whoops. Cool. Look, it worked. So this is what, so let's talk about all these gems, what they do, and why we're using them. So here, we're adding in a gem called REST client. REST client is a whole shit ton of code that says, how do we send a GET request? For our purposes, that's all we're doing. You could also send POST requests that way. You could do all the requests that way. But REST client is the way that you do that with Ruby, at least one of the ways you could do that with Ruby. Then require PP. So the only thing that PP does is I'm going to put puts here instead of PP. And we'll just see how it prints. See how much uglier that prints? That's why it's called pretty print. What I forgot is that whenever, I think most modern versions of Ruby have pretty print installed, and you basically just write PP instead of puts, and then it pretty prints it. So check it again. Bam, pretty printed. Easier to read, right? Cool. Let's actually change this amount to 2 just to see like, okay, how much easier is that to read? So now you can kind of see like, oh, okay. So this is an array of objects. Cool. This object, you know, goes to here. Great. Awesome. Cool. So now let's talk about the actual data manipulation that we're working with here. What do we want? Like, let's think about like the challenge that we would have with trivia, right? Ultimately, we would want to go to a front end page. We would want to, I would want to probably have some object that represents each of these. So let's just do this. Ready? Like, the whole thing will be a question, right? Question equals, maybe this question structure will have an array of questions, and each question will be an object. And this is not something that I think you would necessarily have the foresight on what you would need to do unless you've done it before. And it's okay to have that struggle, but just to give you an idea of something that would work now, right? Maybe what we want is an array of question, and then, or actually, better yet, yeah, question. So we're gonna have a few different keys here. Actually, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be a dictionary, and it's gonna have 2 keys. First thing is it's going to be, the question is going to be the question text or something like that, right? And that's going to be maybe like, here would be the question. How much, I'm not going to do the how much wood could a woodchuck chuck. How much hair does John have on his head? There we go. Cool. So that could be the question text. And then the answers could maybe look something like this, right? I think the answers would look like an array of objects, right? Each of these objects would have the text. Let's call it answer text, which, by the way, nobody stopped me, but this is Ruby, so this should be snake case. You are all terrible students. I'm just kidding. Answer text. And then maybe here, my answer text could be a lot, right? Could be one of them. And then, bam, let's now say, is that answer correct? Is correct. No. Let's do false. Would be a better answer. Cool. And then, maybe we can make our structure something like this. Boop. A lot, let's say, not a lot, still false. Practically none at all, still false. And then maybe another one that says, dude, grow that shit out. That is true. That is the correct answer that we want here, right? So first, let's talk about why it would be nice to do it this way, right? So let's say I'm on the front end. I probably want to track all this data, right? Like I probably want to know what are all my questions. I want to know, okay, which ones are correct, which ones are not correct. And now I have all of them in like one nice, neat place. Does that make sense as a structure that we might desire to work with? Cool. Awesome. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. So that means that whatever this is like here, we're going to try and change that data to equal this so it's easier to work with. Awesome. Cool. So first, let's do that. How do we do that? Okay. So we have this. Cool. Let's see. Let's start playing around with this term. My response. Actually, let's make my response. Let's start refining what my response is, because we don't really need all this code that's like, okay, I don't want to write JSON.parse a bunch of times. So let me just define my response as that, or my data or something like that, because technically it's not the response anymore. It's some parsed version of the response. We can call it my parsed response. By the way, this line of code right here is the same thing as when you do dot then response goes to response.json. It's parsing the JSON. Same thing. Cool. It's good to think about the relationship between JavaScript and Ruby. Awesome. So let's pretty print my parsed response. Great. Make sure everything's working. Then what we want to do is now let's try refining this a little. So what happens if I do my response and then index it at, so it looks like we have results as the key there, right? So first thing I'm going to do is index it at that. So let's try my response and then index it at results. Cool, so that works. So that means we're one layer deeper. That's what we want, right? Let's not put that in there for a second. Do we see how this structure is one big object with one key being the response code and the other key being result? Okay, so basically we want to go from this object and just turn it into this array is what we're doing here, is we're going results. Then inside of this results, we have an array of questions. Let's put this back to one question at a time. Cool. All right, so now what we have is we have an array still, and inside of this array we have an object. Cool. And inside of this object we have, hey, just so you know, you just popped in, we have on trivia, if you just Google trivia, this is the API we're working with. Feel free to just copy this code. This is really all you need for right now. This is just kind of stuff for us to know what we're going to be transforming our stuff into. Cool. If you want, I could even copy and paste this code, put it in the Slack. Well, I am not going to do that right now. I'll put it in the chat. I am slow with Zoom, so bear with me. Bam. Awesome. And all this is a Ruby file, nothing special. We haven't installed Rails or anything like that. We have a gem file where we added, basically we did bundle add REST client, pretty print, JSON. Well, you don't need to bundle add pretty print, it's default. Anyways, back to what we were doing. So we want to take, and let me make this full screen because we don't really need so much anymore from anything other than our own brains. Cool. So we want to make a new object of answers, right? So where are we getting those answers from? Can anybody answer that for me? Pun not intended. Shelly.
Sorry. What was the question?
So let's look at this API that came through, right?
Mhm.
Where are we getting our answers from? Oh, you know what? We have to refine this. I'm sorry. We want this to be multiple choice. Let me make that a little better. Category. We don't want category. Select type, multiple choice. Cool. I'm just generating a new API URL. Okay, so I could just do and type equals multiple. So I think I should be able to go here and say and type equals, is it not quotes? Type equals multiple. By the way, what are these? Can anybody explain to me what these are? There's a word we have, a buzzword for them.
Query.
Query params, exactly. It's just query params that are for someone else's website. So let's see if this works. And now it's multiple choice. So this makes more sense. So here they have like an array of the incorrect answers, and here they have like the correct answer, right? So who can walk me through maybe how I would get this to equal an array of objects like that? Like, what do I do?
Could you take the potential answers and like push them into a new like array or something like that?
Yeah, so let me walk you through my thinking. The first thing that we need to do is like, let's make sure we're just indexing this thing right? So first thing that we got to do is pull out the first term, right? So my parse, we're going to call this my results now. We're just going to refine this, you know. It's totally okay to build bad code and then fix it. So my results equals that. Here we're going to go pp my results. And then maybe now we want to look and see like, okay, let's actually grab the first one. So let's actually just say my result equals my results indexed at 0. In Ruby, you could also do dot first, but we're just going to do indexed at 0 because that's more like less language specific. You could do that in pretty much any language. So let's see what my result looks like. You see how this has an array around it? Let's see what happens now. Okay, no array. Now we're just working with the object. So next, let's maybe start setting some variables. So we want our correct answer to be there, right? So let's do correct answer equals my result. And then what would my correct answer be? Matt.
Let's see. My result dot correct underscore answer.
Will this work in Ruby?
Mm.
You can't do that. You can't do dot notation in Ruby for the error
Oh,
of time, and that's okay.
yeah, I'm jumping to, okay,
so,
JavaScript.
I think when you're working with JSON objects, this doesn't work. Let's print correct answer. Cool, let's see. Whoops, this should be correct answer. Let's see if that works. I don't know that that's gonna, yeah. So you see how this evaluated to Nile?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that happened because I think when you're doing a parse JSON object, you have to do the quotes. But this is why it's good to test in small chunks. See how now it works?
There, yeah.
So that's like a Ruby syntax. For example, if I were in this object, let me do this.
Okay.
Puts, let's do question indexed at the first one, and then we're gonna say, this time we're gonna say answer text, right? I think that should work. Why did Rosh Hashanah pop up? What is the question? That's like,
You know,
that's a Jewish holiday coming up soon.
Yeah.
I think it random like is it making another call and
Yeah,
grabbing
that's
a
what
new
it is.
question?
It is doing
Okay.
that. It's just kind of funny because I don't know, I'm Jewish. Well, at least by culture. Oh, whoops. I didn't. This has to be question. Oh, I need to index it at answers. I just want to show you that this works. Cool. So you see how this symbol notation works when it's like a Ruby hash? The reason why it doesn't work on up here is because this is a parsed JavaScript object, JSON object. What does JSON stand for? Can anybody tell me that?
JavaScript object notation.
Beautiful. Awesome. So now we're getting out our correct answer, and then maybe we want an array of our incorrect answers. Or we're going to call this incorrect answers equals my result. And let's scroll back up a little bit. My result, and then we're going to index it at incorrect answers. Beautiful. And let's check our incorrect answers. Cool. So now let's see what that runs. Whoops. So that's working. We got our incorrect answers. We got our correct answers. What is it that we want to do though? We need to be able to store whether or not it's correct and put this all in one array, right? How do I do that? There's a few ways you could do it, but I could think of one quick way. So let's say I have this array of incorrect answers. Okay. So I have answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, and then I have answer 4, right? Cool. Well, we don't have a fourth answer, but I have answer 1, answer 2, answer 3. What I want to do is I want to go through all of these answers and change them from, I want answer 1 right now. If I were to look at answer 1 equals, what would answer 1 look like? Can someone describe like the data type that we come up with, or what is answer 1 right now?
String.
Right, so answer 1 is a string, and we want to take answer 1, and instead of it being a string, we want to turn it into an object with 2 key value pairs, right? We want the text value, and then we also want is correct, which is a Boolean, right? How would I go about transforming this array into a different data type? What would be the best way? I choose you, Kelsey.
Did you map into an
Beautiful.
object?
Yep, that's exactly what we would do. So start me off. Let's just do it on incorrect answers first.
Okay, so you do incorrect answers dot map, and then answer between the pipes, or yeah,
Whoops.
answer.
Yeah, do answer. Great.
And then in the block, could do, can you push into a object? I guess you can't do that. Never mind.
Well, so think about it like this, right?
Mhm.
We have our answers as an array, right? Let's just say our answers equals an array, right? And we have answer 1, answer 2, answer 3. Okay, so think about it. What a map does is for each answer, it's going to return something else. So for answer 1, it's going to return whatever I tell it to return here. So for example, let's say I do this to return, what's up, John? Right? Let's see what that equals. We're going to pretty print our incorrect answers, right? What do you think we're going to get?
3 what's up, Johns? Oh.
Why did that print like that? Hang on a second. Is it because of this? I didn't do an implicit return? That seems wrong. Something's weird is going on. Maybe if I do a puts here, it'll work. Let me try doing this in a multi-line. Incorrect answer objects equals that. And then incorrect answer objects. PP that. Let's see if that works. Is it just, I think it might be this. I think this might be a difference between, what is going on here? PP incorrect. It's been a while since I've done this shit in Ruby. Wait a second. I'm not even printing nothing. Hold up. Something is strange here. Sorry.
Is it because you're like invoking it with the parentheses in Ruby?
Invoking what with the parentheses?
Or like you have the parentheses after map? I don't know.
I don't know. It's possible. I haven't done, I don't think that would be it. We could try it. Nope. What is going on here? It's been, normally I don't do this in, let me try. Probably something silly. Are we getting the incorrect answers out? So we're getting that, and then after that it's equaling nothing. That's weird. Map, is my syntax wrong? Dot map. Because I think you could return, for each answer, return, what's up, John? That's what you'd want. I think. What am I doing wrong here? I'm kind of used to JavaScript. Boop doop. Oh, yeah, so it's not even, oh, well, right now I'm not even pretty printing it. That's so weird.
You need 2 ends on there since you're mapping.
Yeah. Wait, no. I don't think you need 2 ends. No, it's not that.
Okay.
Something's weird here. Let me try doing it single line. I know like Ruby has implicit returns. Oh, there it goes. I guess you have to use implicit return in Ruby. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's working now. So.
Oh, does return like stop the function in its tracks kind of thing?
I think that might be what it does in Ruby. I'm used to JavaScript, so I'm used to actually physically writing out the return, and I wanted to do that to be clear on what like you're doing, but it looks like it wants like the implicit return, so I can't do that. So it looks like it's working now though. Cool. So the point is that it's going over each of those answers. We're turning that into what's up, John. We're turning that into what's up, John. We're turning that into what's up, John. So now instead what we're going to do is we're just going to return an object, right? And in this object, we're going to have, well, I'm sorry, it's a hash in Ruby. In this object, we're going to have our text is going to equal what?
Answer.
Answer. And then our is correct is going to equal what?
False.
Beautiful. See if that works. Cool. So we got what we wanted there. Then we need to do the same thing with correct answer, except for we don't need to do it for each of these. So I could just say, very simply, correct answer equals correct answer, right? I'm sorry, it's going to equal an object. I don't know that you could actually do that because I think you're changing the type. Let's see if it breaks. In JavaScript, you could do this. Correct answer equals And if we can't do it, there's a very easy workaround. So we're going to say the text is going to be correct answer. And then the is correct is going to equal, oh, this needs to be is underscore correct. Is correct is going to equal what?
True.
Beautiful. So let's see if that works. Probably is going to break. Oh, no, it didn't break. Let me see. PP incorrect answers, and then we want to also correct answer. Text is Nile. Oh, that's why. Oh, it probably will break. Watch. Oh, it didn't break. Okay. So now what do we have to do? We probably want to combine them all into one array, right? How would I do that?
Could you do a spread operator? Or wait, is that JavaScript?
That's JavaScript.
Okay.
You could just do, well, you can do something similar to a spread, but there's a couple ways you could do it. What are the two ways that we've learned to basically add a term into an array?
Push.
Yep, push is one of them. What's the other one for Ruby?
The arrow, the like two arrows, the shovel.
Yep. Is it 2 or 3? I can't remember.
I think it's 2 in Ruby.
Okay. So basically we could say incorrect answers, shovel, correct answer, right? So now we're going to get rid of all our pretty prints. Bam, too many of those. And we're just going to pretty print. Or actually what we're going to do, what I think would maybe be better would be to push all of them. Is there a spread operator in Ruby? That would be nice if there was. Splat and double. Oh, we're not going to get into that right now. There probably is, but it's not worth our time. So what we're going to do is, but we are going to do a new array. So we're going to say, that way we can just have more readable code. So we're going to say all answers equals incorrect answers, and then we can do dot concat, or I don't know if it is dot concat in, let's see, concatenate in Ruby. Concatenating is just combining two arrays. I'm pretty sure there's a dot concat. Yep, dot concat. Dot concat, correct answer. And then let's see what that equals. So we're going to type in puts all answers. Cool. Is everybody following so far?
Oh, no, you gotta do the snake case.
Yes.
The camel case.
Yes. Let's just see if it works though. But yeah, definitely. Concat, no implicit conversion of a hash into an array. I think maybe we have to do this. Let's find out. Cool. So here we have an array, 1 object, 2 object, 3 object, 4 object. Puts all answers. Is there another? There's another PP down here. We don't want those. Let's get rid of it so that way we're only printing one thing and we know what we're looking at. Cool. So now we're getting this. That's exactly what we want. And let's just double check that. Make sure that that indexed right by like, let's get the last term, which is 3, and just make sure that we're printing exactly what we want and that it's not an array or something like that. Cool. So it's working. Great. So now that we did that in Ruby, oh, there's one more thing that we have to do. And this, by the way, would be a really good example of why you'd want Ruby instead of JavaScript for this. If I do it this way, where is the correct answer going to be every single time?
The last one.
Last.
The last one. That's a problem, right? Because you want it to be shuffled. Fortunately, Let's pop into our IRB. Let's say A equals 1, 2, 3, 4, right? In Ruby, I could just do this. A dot shuffle. Wait, did that just go backwards? Let me see if that, yeah. See, it's switching apart every time. It just randomly wound up equaling that. Let me try that again just to make sure. B equals 1, 2, 3, 4. B dot shuffle. Cool. So you see how it's like 2, 3, 1. It's not doing the same thing every time. It's just randomly shuffling them. And B is still that. B dot shuffle is, so B, it's not mutative. So when I say shuffle B, it's saying like, this thing that exists is a shuffled version of B, but it's not actually shuffling the original version of B. Does that make sense? Cool.
Yeah.
So now let's try the same thing in JavaScript real quick. Quit, what is it? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to node. So now this is like a really similar thing. It's just like IRB. It's just that now I'm in a node REPL. Let's try the same thing. Let A equal 1, 2, 3, 4. A dot shuffle. Nothing. Nothing. That method doesn't exist in JavaScript. And there's a lot of methods like that that don't exist. Let me show you some other ones that are really nice in Ruby that don't exist in JavaScript. So let's go to IRB. Let's say I have an array. Let A equal, it's not let A equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say I want to get like a random number out of there. I could be like A dot sample. Cool. There's another nice one in Ruby called range. So, or it's not actually called range. In other languages, it's called range. If you look up range in Ruby, there's a way to do it though. So Ruby ranges 1 to 5. Cool. So like it's like that. So if I just type in this like 1 dot dot 5, I get an array. Oh yeah, I might have to do 2A. So you see how I just created an array from 1 to 5 really easily? This is actually something that's super useful for like advanced algorithms. Let's do like 20 or something like that. You can see it works really easily. JavaScript doesn't have that either. So there's a whole bunch of like these cool mathy functions that JavaScript just straight up doesn't have. I'm going to show you all how to do that. So that way we can actually try building something here. And we are doing decent on time. So y'all don't need to follow along with this, but you can if you want. This is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to create CD out of here. And I'm going to move fast just because I think it'd be cooler to show y'all something in like 20 minutes. Come on. Okay, there it is. CD out of that. We're going to CD into JavaScript. Whoops. CD Java. Oh, I have to CD out. No, CD into JavaScript. There we go. Okay. So in order to start working with external packages, like you know how in Ruby we have bundle install, bundle add, all that? I'm sure y'all have heard of npm. If I type in which npm, you've installed it on your computer. I'm willing to bet that you have installed npm on your computer. And if you have not, you should. And if you're having trouble with that, let me know. But what npm is Node Package Manager. It's the exact equivalent of Ruby's bundler. If you've seen RVM, that's Ruby's version manager. The exact equivalent of that in JavaScript is NVM. NVM. Which just, if you haven't figured it out by now, just kind of tells you information about it from your command line. This is like a ridiculously long thing, but. Okay, so the way that, kind of like we did bundle init before, you basically just start something off with npm init. So I'm going to add a -y, which just makes it simpler. But if you didn't add the -y, it would just ask you a series of questions that you don't know how to answer yet. So What this did was it created, like the other thing creates a gem file, this creates a package.json. You're going to deal with this when you get to React. You don't really have to deal with it for a little while, but this is more of fun time for the next 20 minutes if y'all are interested. So in JavaScript, there's a library that you might have heard the name of that basically has a lot of these math functions, and it's called Lodash. So I would type in npm I, that's like saying bundle add, but instead of saying npm install, which by the way, I or install works, and we are going to say Lodash. Cool. So now I have Lodash installed, but there's an issue here. I'm going to create an index.html to show you what the issue is. All right, so let's do a source tag, script source, index.js. Cool. I haven't made an index.js. So when you require, I don't remember the exact syntax, but let's say you look up require in Node. Right? Yeah, it is just that. It's pretty much the exact same. Oh, no, yeah, you have to set it equal to a variable, right? So it's a little different than Ruby. You would say like const. You could call it Lodash for now, except for what you will usually see is actually this, which is just a Lodash. And that's just a variable name. Equals require. And then if it's in the node modules, that's where it's going to look. Lodash. Bam. And then we're just going to do console.log. I'm hit when you load the browser. Cool. Just like you've done before. So now we're going to start a light server or something, right? Light server. Damn. Let's see what we got. Ah, we got an error, requires not defined. So this is like a thing that you need to understand. The JavaScript that runs in your browser is different than the JavaScript that runs on your computer. This is kind of something Kyle went over yesterday, but can anybody tell me what the JavaScript that runs on your computer is called? Wish it was easier for me to see who's on this call right now so I can call them out. Darcy, do you know what JavaScript that runs like on your local computer is versus JavaScript that runs on your browser?
No.
Okay. So the JavaScript that runs on your browser, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it runs off of a V8 engine that goes on Google Chrome. And it's inherently different than JavaScript on your computer. I'll give you a hint. I typed it in earlier to pull up a REPL.
V8 like a car?
Yeah. If you look up V8 Chrome engine, that's what it is. So the JavaScript that runs on your computer is called Node. Basically, someone said, oh, our browser can do all this JavaScript. What if we put it on our computer and add functionality to it? That's what Node is. It is a JavaScript runtime. So you might hear people saying Node for a backend. What they really mean is a Node package called Express. What Node is just JavaScript on your computer. That's all. Now, Node allows you to require stuff, but the browser does not. So there's a package that allows you to sort of like get around that, and it's called Browserify, which I have downloaded. And if you guys are, I'm assuming y'all probably don't want to follow along right now. If you do, I will send you this. So there is a nice little Medium article called Hello World for JavaScript with NPM modules in the browser. This is pretty cool. So I'm going to put it in the chat and y'all can save it if you would like. That is, if I can like get through these. I wonder if these Zoom controls are ever going to get any better because it's just miserably bad right now. Cool. So I'm in
You can go to the top and like hold your mouse on the top of the screen, and then usually like something will pop up.
yeah, I know. It just always takes me a second to get the show chat. Oh, Command Shift H. I got to do that. Anyways, cool. So this is a website. It's a Medium article that explains how to get Node running in your browser. There's an NPM package, just like a gem, called Browserify. Let me show you how it works. So once you have it installed, which to install it, all you do is type in npm I Browserify, and you want it to be a global one, this one, so that's all that it takes is that. We need to cd into JavaScript. And basically what you do is you create a file called bundle.js, which it'll do for you, Browserify. And then what you do is you choose which one is your index. So for us, it's index.js. So this is like where everything is kind of going into. Or is it, it might be the index.html, I'm sorry. This is our index page. And then after that, we say -o, which I don't actually know what that flag means. And then you say bundle.js is the new file we want to create. Browserify. Browserify? I think it might be that. Maybe it is index.js. Cool. So now it just did a whole bunch of shit. We have like this bundle.js file. Look at all that shit. It just did that for us. And what that does is it imports things in a way that is browser compatible. I can't go too much deeper into that. I'm sure other instructors could. Then from in here, we have to do a link tag, which is how you sort of do imports from your browser. And it's href, and then this time you would link like the bundle.js file. This is the thing that bundles all your functions together. Bundle.js. Bam. So now let's see if we still run into that same error. And this is by no means stuff that you have to know. This is more of just like, let me expose you to some thoughts and ideas here. I don't think I saved this. So I have to save that, and I have to save this, and I have to save this. Let's see if it works. Something's wrong. Requires non-defined. I have to fix something here. So this is where I'm going to go to that Medium article and figure this out. By the way, I did this morning, so give me a break here if I'm not doing too great. And if y'all think that this is too much of a stretch, let me know. If it's like too much brain pain. I think I can also start this Watchify. So Watchify is another NPM module that basically will update it if you add stuff or take it away. Yeah, let's not get too deep into that. Let's see. Where is the line? Script source. Oh, it's a script, not a link. Oh, okay. You're basically changing the source from being your index to your bundle. That's what it is. I remember now. Sorry about that. And then now it should work. Yep, cool. So now we didn't run into an error. So now all that stuff that we did, let's kind of look at the structure that we did in Ruby and just copy over that code. So I could just show you how you would do the same thing in JavaScript, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead. This is pretty much all of our code, right? Right here. Awesome. I'm just going to take all of this, put it in our index.js and comment it out. Except for this URL, because this is like going to be exactly the same, right? We don't need any of that shit. So let's take our URL. We're going to say const, and then in JavaScript, when you're specifying a URL, you usually do all caps. Cool. Then what are we going to do? Well, we don't need all that REST client shit, so we don't need to deal with any of that. Let's just do a basic fetch, right? Let's say fetch URL dot then response goes to response JSON. All shit that you should be familiar with, dot then console.log. And let's look at what we have. Let's make sure it works. Cool, so that worked, great. So we have our response here. We have our results. And then we have, bam. So let's console.log instead. Let's tighten this up again. So we're gonna say then result. And we are going to want to console.log. Let's actually do this. Let's open up this. Bam. And like before, we index it exactly the same way. We could actually cheat and go off the work that we already did, right? So JSON.parse covered by this line. My result is going to equal 0. So let's say we can go straight to incorrect answers, right? Or correct answer. Or actually, let's go my result. Then let my result equal, basically we'll say result. Wait, this would be camel case here, sorry. Let my result equals result. And then we're going to go into it. First thing that we're going to do is, let's delete one line at a time when we actually do stuff, right? So, caps lock, bam, bam. Result, and then we're going to index it at 0. Cool, and let's console.log that. Make sure that works. Cool, undefined, we fucked something up. What did we mess up? Let's do result first. Result. Oh, it's because we didn't go into results. So it should be result dot results and then 0. Cool, so that's working. And then we can parse out of that we can have our answers, right? So correct answers. Is going to equal, well, let's pop this open. This is a little nicer than like pretty print or something like that, I think, to work with. So correct answer equals result.correct answer, right? And let incorrect answers, oh wow. And then let's console.log. If you didn't know that you could do this, you can do like multiple things at the same time. So we're going to say correct answer and then incorrect answer. Bam. Let's see what that does. Oh, undefined and undefined. So that means we messed something up. So let's actually just go back to our my result. Oh, it's because we did my result instead of my result, I think is what it is. Oh, that's just that. Well, I guess I'm not smart. So let's look. We've got, oh, does anybody see the problem? Matt? Oh, Kelsey, you unmuted your mic.
Oh, I was just gonna say we didn't like map through like we did on the other one.
That's not why this equals undefined though. This equals undefined just because of this. That's all.
Oh.
Well, no, it's not actually there. It would be here. Dot.
Yeah.
answer. And that's because that's the format that it's given in. So let's try it again. Save. Okay, cool. So now it's working. So now we have our correct answer, our incorrect answer. Cool. All right, but here's the thing. It might actually be nice if we have, right now, if I were to type in incorrect answers in here, would I be able to see it? Let's try it. It's not defined. Why? Who thinks that they can explain that to me? This is a really important concept. And if this is the only takeaway that you have, this is a big takeaway. So I'm actually going to shrink this a little.
Is that like a scope issue?
Beautiful. Yeah. So because this is inside of the function, as soon as the function's done, the answer is gone. So how would I fix that? How could I make it to where the browser just knows what this is at all times?
You're not supposed to make global variables, really, are you? Isn't that like a no-no?
You can.
Okay.
I've done it. It can be like a lot easier to like do certain things if you do it that way. You can write like you can do it more functionally, right? But I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to have global variables because then you can track what's going on. Maybe I should.
Why wouldn't you want to?
I think that there's like sometimes you don't necessarily want all the data to be available. For example, let's say like this is just a trivia app, so it doesn't matter that much. Let's say I made a global variable for password or something like that. Then I could go into the browser and type in password and then find my password. There's probably other reasons and I just don't know. But in this case, I don't think it's that bad because it's just a trivia app. And it does simplify your logic a lot. So like, let's say like let correct answer. Oh, whoops. So here's how you could do this. You could say let correct answer here. Don't even define what type it is or nothing. Let incorrect answers. Bam. And then in here, you could say, you just get rid of the let because it's already defined. So we've already specified, is this a let or a const up here. It's just that now it's scoped out here instead of in here. So now let's save that. And I'm going to type in incorrect answers again. It should work. Incorrect. There. I just did it wrong. Incorrect answer is not defined. What did I do wrong? Should work. Did I save this? Correct answers. What's going on here? Let's see. Boop, boo. I'm wondering, it's possible that because we did that whole bundle thing that it doesn't show up in the browser, but I'm pretty sure if I were to like console.log it outside of here, it'd be fine. And let's test that. Except for there's that fetch. So that wouldn't work, but you could do like a, yeah, that wouldn't, this is not a smooth demonstration here, but let's make another function like log variables. Bam, and then now we can have this function. Cool. So now maybe this will show you that like, okay, so it did log. So the point is that now the rest inside of this file, we can use that as if it's like up here. It's also really nice for like nodes sometimes to define them up there. I will check with other people and make sure that it's not like horrible practice. Because I think that was one of those things that maybe I overestimated when I was like beginning on how bad it was. because I was like looking, a lot of like follow alongs that I found used that, and it simplifies the logic a lot when you do that. But anyways, we can get rid of this guy. Point is, now that we have Lodash, right? Let's first do the map, right? So let's say instead of log variables, what we want to do is let's create all answers. Create, update, all questions, actually, is what we'll say. Or all answers. Well, let's do this. Update question. So instead, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually go back to where we were. Let question equal, we're just going to do that. I think you could actually start it as an empty object, and that should be fine. Here, we can go we need to go back to the let, or we could actually do const here. Here we could do const as well. Anytime you can do const, you should. I was just kind of going fast here. Let's do update question and input the arguments. Maybe we want correct answer and, oh, whoops, correct answer and incorrect answer. Beautiful. Here we can correct and incorrect. And then now what we want to do is the exact same thing that we did before, and we don't need any fancy functions for it. It's just a dot map, right? So we're going to say like incorrect answers. Well, let's do answers, and let's make that clearer. So just real quickly, I'm going to say, let's go new answers equals incorrect answers dot map. Then we're going to say for each answer, we are going to return an object with what is it? We have a text of whoops, answer, and then we have an is correct. Oh, I don't need these quotes. Sorry, that's JSON. Is correct is going to be what?
False.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. So that's our new answers. And then all we got to do is push the incorrect answer. So then we could say we want to step out of that, but we're still inside of the function. So that's good. This is where good tabulated code is nice, because you see how like now I know I'm inside my function, it's tabbed in nicely. I know I'm right here. So now we want to say new answers. Let's say dot push. And then we want to push a new object, right? And this object is going to have basically it's basically going to be this on the inside, where we're just going to change the values. So I'm going to do that, except for this time the text is going to equal not answer. What's it going to equal?
Correct underscore answer.
Yep. Well, not underscore, because I'm getting it from the function. So the function argument. So it's going to be whatever this is. I could call this dog and it would, be the same thing. As long as it's like, as long as it matches that function argument, right?
Okay, I got it.
And then is correct is going to equal true. Cool. So now we have our new answers, right? Let's console.log that. New answer. So, and let's change this to update question. Cool. Awesome. We have our answers, but we haven't shuffled them. So we need to shuffle them. this is where Lodash comes in, which is kind of cool. So this is saying from the Lodash object, which let's look at Lodash for a second, right? Let's go to Lodash. Lodash basically has like a shit ton of functions. If you go over to documentation, and then there should be like, I think it might just be because the window's small. Let's see. Yeah. So if you go over here, you'll find a shit ton of them. And if you just, there should be like a search somewhere around here. So if you search shuffle, I think you'll find one. Yep. So click on shuffle, and this is what they're saying. In order to shuffle array, you're going to the Lodash object that we created, which we instantiated with this variable called Lodash. We can call that something else if you want, just to show you like how that's working. And then from that Lodash object, it's saying pull out shuffle, this method, and then run that on a collection. Cool. So now let's try it out. So what we're going to do is we are going to say new answers. Instead of just doing new answers, we're going to say Lodash dot shuffle and then new answers. And let's see what that did. So let's go here, bam, bam, and it looks like it shuffled them, right? Did I save it? Yep. So it looks like which one is correct is true. So the first, so the second one is correct is true. That means that it worked, right? Because it shuffled them. So now we got this functionality inside of JavaScript without having to worry about, and I honestly think this is easier than doing that in Ruby. But honestly, writing a shuffle function is not that simple, right? You have to get like a random number. You have to make sure you set the like conditions of the random number right. You have to make sure you don't repeat the random number. But yeah. Now, if y'all want to, I could show you how you would put it on the page. But surely with JavaScript, it's easier to put on the page now because it's connected right there. Cool. Do y'all have any questions? I know we didn't do anything with this page. We can if you guys want. I don't know when is the next class?
11.
11. Should we, do you guys want to take a break or do a sprint and try to get shit on the page?
I'm down for either.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's go quick. Ready? We're going to make a div. We'll call it class. We'll call it questions container. And then we're going to do ID. We're going to call it questions container. Actually, we're just going to call it container for the class container. Then we're going to do ID questions container. Cool. We have a div. Then we're going to say, maybe we want, this is where we're going to have to create that inside of JavaScript, right? So inside our questions container. So after we get our questions back, right? Cool. We are going to now want to say, fill or populate questions container. Cool. Bam. And then inside of this, we are going to put our, oh, we actually need to fix this because our question, so we have question up here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say question and then indexed at, let's say, we want two things for question. We want our question text. Let's call this question text is going to equal let's call this, we actually need to pass through another argument here. we need our question text. My result equals, we need to console.log that again. I'm gonna get rid of all this real quick. We don't need any of this Ruby code. We already did all that. Can you guys tell that I'm faster at JavaScript than Ruby right now? Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of all this so I don't run into any errors, and I need to look at the result again. So console.log my result. And I'm only doing that so I could pull out the key for question. So category, we don't care. Difficulty, incorrect answers, question. That's what we want, question. So we could say const question equals my result dot question. Great. And then let's console.log question. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. What is the name of the main character from the music video of? Cool, it's working. Great. So now we just need to pass in question. We're going to call this question text. More specific. And then let's undo all this. Get all that back. Question text. Here I put it on the end, so I'm just going to match it. Put it on the end here. Question text. Beautiful. So we want our question text to equal, you know, we don't actually need to, yeah. Okay, so question text to equal question text. We want our question, I'm going to do that, call this question object. And then this, I'm going to call this question object. Do you guys understand what I'm doing here? Or y'all understand what I'm doing here?
You're like making a separate object for just the question.
Yeah, so let's see if it actually, I'll console log the question object just to show you what I'm doing, right? Console.log, and then now we're gonna have answers equals question. I'm sorry, it's gonna equal question. What am I thinking? New answers. Awesome. So let's console.log this. See what we got now. Bam. Awesome. So now we have this thing where we have our question text. That's our question. Then we have all the different answers we could possibly have, right? So down here I have answer 0. That's not right. This one's not right. This one's not right. So in this case, 4 is right. Cool. Let's run it again just to make sure that I just want to run it again to make sure, like, okay, we are doing this right, and that it's actually shuffling. False, false, false. Is it shuffling them? Maybe it's not shuffling them. Yeah, it's doing the last one every time. Did we do the shuffle? Oh, we never did the shuffle.
Oh.
That's why. So we can just do it right here. We have to do lodash.shuffle because remember, lodash is like where it's like that's our way of importing it. Lodash.shuffle. So let's try that again. Cool. Answers. Is this going to be the true? Okay, there it goes. Yeah, I just forgot to shuffle it. Now I can just do any other thing that I would normally do in JavaScript. Same thing now. Now it's like, okay, now I can populate all of these. So I can sit there and say, okay, let's go ahead and populate the questions container, just like you already know how to do. We're running out of time here, but let's see what we can get done. So our questions container, and then I always put a $sign in front of my nodes so that way I don't get confused. And then also, I'll show you another advantage of that. So questions container. And then I think it was just ID questions container. So let's see if that's right real quick by checking our index.html. Questions container, that looks right. Questions container, what is it? Populate questions container is not a function. Of course it's not, because we haven't made it yet. So now we do that. So function, populate questions container, bam, bam. Great. So now we've got our questions container. Let's go ahead and, well, I don't know what my questions container is because I'm all scrolled all the way down here and it's all the way up here. Fortunately, because I started it with a $sign, I know that I could find my nodes really easily. So there's like a solid advantage there. Cool. So now what I want to do is I want to go to my questions container and we want to populate it with some stuff. And then now we have our questions here too. If I'm going to go in here and just console.log my questions object, it's there. Cool. Awesome. Look, I have all that information in front of me. Great. So we need to make some new HTML. Awesome. So let's create first a list. Let's create an unordered list. Let's call it new list. So new list. Create element, and we'll call it unordered list. Awesome. Now we're just going to say, we're going to append some stuff to it. We're going to do new list dot. Actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a for each. So we're going to go into our question object. Oh, first let's do a title. Let title, or let's say let question title, question text equal document dot create element at and then we're going to say like h1. Cool. So now this should be pretty easy. So we could say our question text, right? So we could say question text dot inner text equals. Did I do something wrong there?
Oh, it gave you the container automatically.
Oh. Whoops. That's weird. Dot inner. Why is dot inner text not coming up? That's strange. Equals. Let's see if we can just get this to work. It sounds like the new thing came out. Just type in something there. Oh, I didn't append it to anything. Questions text is not defined. It's question text. Dot. Let's see if that works now. Inner text. There we go. Equals, and we are going to say question object, and then dot question text. Cool. And then let's just do real quickly, just so we have something on the page. Sorry we didn't get finished, but I could say questions container dot append, and then we say question text. Great. Uncaught, cannot read property append of null. Questions container. That means questions container does not work. Let's see. Oh, see, that didn't even run. Questions container. I don't know. We can, for now, let's put that in the other spot. But
Did you append the container?
what did I write? Yeah, questions container dot append. Let me put it in here. I don't know. Cool. There we go. So we have that. I think it might have been some error with defining it at the top of the page. I'm not sure exactly what. Then in here, now we can add all the questions. So to do that, I would say, cool. We could say question object, and then we have to go into answers dot append. I'm sorry, question answers, and then dot for each. For each answer, we want to, I don't know, we're just gonna we need to create an element, let answer equals document dot create. Whoa. Create element. Oopsie daisies. P. Let's have an extra one of those. Answer dot inner text equals answer. By the way, you see how it's nice because I could tell I could have $ answer and answer, and then they're both. I can tell which one is the node and which one is like the argument. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I always see Kyle do the $signs, and I never really understood why.
Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it does.
Text, and then we just need to append that. So now we say questions container dot append answer. Great. I fucked up something. Document.
It's a relevant trivia question.
Yeah. There we go. Cool. So now we have all these, and then the question would be like, okay, how do I choose which one is correct and which one is not correct? And that's a whole different problem. But this already is like a lot. Like this is a lot to do, especially when like y'all are new to JavaScript and stuff like that. I don't want to stop y'all from going to that lesson though. So
Did you,
let me go ahead and.
okay, I was just gonna. Okay, I forget it.
What is the other lesson right now? I didn't even look.
CSS.
Yeah,
CSS.
Go to that lesson. Do that. I think that this is a lot to absorb already. I did a lot here. I know that this is like your project and stuff like that, but like really try to go to that lesson and absorb the CSS stuff too. Cause like sometimes it's good to skip around on what you're learning because it'll like, there's a lot to learn and it's better to water the garden than take a deep dive. In other words, like you have 100 plants to grow. It's better to water 100 plants than just dump a bucket onto one plant, a bucket of water onto one plant. You know, that's the word we like to use here is water the garden. It's better for your brain. So go water the garden. Be free, little mod tours.
Thanks, John.
All right,
Thank you so
later.
much, John. Thank
All
you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.